everybody. It's Goddess Z, and I'm here with another podcast episode on holistic and spiritual as fuck. Welcome back, fam. If you are tuning in again, I appreciate you guys so much. If this is your first time landing on this podcast, be sure to hit that like, that follow, that subscribe, depending on whatever platform you're listening on. If you're into topics such as ancestral wisdom, healing, esoteric alchemy, we talk about all sorts of things here that have to pertain to the mind, body, spirit integration. Because I always say every episode that if either one of those things are out of balance, then we are out of balance and we don't want that. Okay. So be sure to go ahead and stay connected to me and also on the respective platforms. And also, this podcast drops episodes every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On the first and the third Friday of the month, I have a guest on the show sharing their experience and their wisdom. And then the second and the fourth, it is me coming in with my downloads and transmissions throughout the month. Okay. So today we are actually going to have a guest. We are having the very talented Rekhit Kajara Nebthet. And today is episode 62, Ancient Kemetic Wisdom and the Power of Ra Sekhi with Rekhit Kajara Nebthet. Hopefully I said that correct, okay? Because I've just been calling her Mama Kajara because that was easy for me to say. All right. And so in this episode, we're going to actually be talking about, let me go ahead and get my nifty little notes here. Rekhit Kajara Nebthet, she's the founder of the Ra Sekhi Arts Temple. She's a priestess, medicine woman, and a holistic health consultant with over 20 years of experience in energy healing, womb wellness, and Kemetic spiritual science. We'll be talking about what it truly means to live in divine alignment with nature's frequency, how ancient African spiritual systems like Kemetic Reiki are helping us return home to ourselves, how prayer, herbs, and vibration are technologies of liberation, okay? Some of the topics we're flowing through are Kemetic Reiki and energy alignment, herbs, crystals, and vibrational healing, raising your frequency through prayer and ancestral remembrance, living vegan and natural for spiritual clarity. So this conversation is a homecoming, a reminder that healing is also remembrance, okay? So definitely you want to stick around all the way to the end because she dropped a lot of gems in this episode as well, okay? So just a little bit of business. All of our information is going to be down in the description, so be sure to check that out. How to find me, my website is down there, Holistic and Spiritual AF. I'm all over social media, Holistic and Spiritual AF. And then let's see, I also have a class coming up on Wednesday, November the 19th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. So be sure to check that link down in the bio and in the description, excuse me. And I feel like I'm leaving something else out because Mama Kajara has a lot of things going on too. So definitely check out her website. She's also an author of several different books. Okay, she's written Ra Sekhi Kemetic Reiki levels 1 and 2, Light as a Feather, I Get Energy from the Sun, and Recipes for Elevation. She's a devoted educator and healer, and she's taught thousands through workshops, retreats, trainings focused on ancestral healing traditions. So definitely check her website out too, because she has a tremendous amount of medicine, soul medicine inside of there. Okay, and so I've yapped enough. I said I'm not gonna be doing that much. Just check out the description, y'all. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and jump into today's episode. Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much, Mama Kajara, for agreeing to join me and join my audience on this podcast, Holistic and Spiritual as Fuck. You are doing some amazing things out there. Really, I've been following you for a while. We were talking about it earlier. And so you're doing things with the Kemetic community, Reiki, veganism, crystals, herbs, frequency, traditional living. Definitely want to talk about that and natural living. And most importantly, you've been on the path for quite some time, helping a lot of other women with what it is that you do. So, like I was saying, I respect you a great deal. It's an honor to have you here. And I would love for you to tell me, myself and my audience how it all got started for you.
Well, I want to thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share with you and your listeners and how I got started. Woo. I would say I was born for this. So I've always been a little spiritual, magical, gypsy, witchy type since I was a child. Of course, I would say all of us when we were children, if we wanted to be witches for Halloween, or once wanted to be a gypsy, so I had a scarf and long beads, long wig, and a long skirt. And when I look back at that picture, it's like, I've always been who I am. And, I feel that is the truth for all of us for the most part. So I've been doing this as long as I can remember. I always worked with crystals, been interested in herbs and the spiritual side of life. So I grew up in Chicago, and thankfully, Chicago kind of gives you children a knowledge of Black history, and things like that. That also made me become more conscious, I would say, and consciousness leads to spirituality, in my opinion.
It does.
So, as I became more aware that there were many names for the Most High, and, these people, because in Chicago we have Christians, we got Jehovah's Witness, we got Muslims, we got Hebrews, and everybody pretty much grows up knowing that these are different practices and there are different names for the Most High. So that definitely helped to open me up as far as spirituality is concerned, because I understood there were many paths and many stories. I later had some teachers who assisted me as I began to, I would say, develop my spiritual gifts. Um, I had ones to help me fast. I got Queen of Four books. We had an initiation back in my college days that again gave me a vision into the spiritual realm. And so this pretty much continued until I answered the call
Yep.
and, allowed myself to become initiated. And, I began to work with the ancestral realm. And it's pretty much been a beautiful ride since then.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, like you
Hmm.
said, you were born for this. It sounds like it. And I think that is true too, because when I was a kid, I was always into like mystical things and
Right.
witches and the stars and all of that. And I had vivid dreams like most children do before we get pulled away from that. So
Hmm.
I love it was always in you. It was who you are, who you came here to be, who you always was, you know?
Absolutely.
So I love that, and I love the fact that you talked about your ancestors because I'm very passionate about my ancestors, and that really has changed my life tremendously. Okay, so like around like what age did you start to develop your spiritual gifts, and like what types of practices did you start out with?
I would say when I got in my 20s, I did have some elder teachers who I started with the Rastafarian women around the 20s, and they taught me about natural living and how to connect with the elements, how to make teas, tonics, herbs, salves, all kind of things like that. Um, and then I began to do sweat lodges. And so my elder mama, who took me on those journeys, also helped me to understand that there was many levels to the spiritual realm.
Hmm.
She was a Muslim, Yoruba, and an indigenous woman.
Interesting.
So yes, she was and still is. Honor and praises to her for taking the time with me. But those sweat lodge days definitely really was a time for me to really connect with my ancestors, and the indigenous ones of this side and the other side of the water. And so once I began to really work with them, it just, it's like the path just opened up, and it was
Oh yeah.
just take this step, go here, do that. And I would run into someone who would tell me something, and I'd run into a lady who was a seer, and she would say, "Oh, you're gonna do this, and that, and so I just had a really the 20s was that time. So by the time I hit 30, I began to facilitate Sacred Women Gateways when the book came out. And that also was a boost on my spiritual journey as well, especially in the realm of the Kemetic sciences. Um, I
Yes.
began to work with the Neteru, and whew, that was a very, truly, extremely magical time.
I'll bet. That was
Hmm.
that really changed things for me as well. Like when I had been doing yoga, I was on the new age side of things. I was looking and seeking for something.
Hmm.
And like I was saying, that community in South Florida, somebody took me to that yoga on the beach, and that was Kemetic yoga. And I had a whole different experience than I had ever had. And
Right.
I remember that the first time I did the yoga, I felt like every last one of my energy centers, all 7 of my chakras just pop open. It was like
Right.
it was something I was like, "This is different." After that, I don't think I've ever done hatha yoga after that, like, because I was
Hmm.
like, "What's the point?" To each his
Yeah.
own with that, but for me, this was a much more powerful form of, um, yoga. And
Yeah.
then and after that, I ended up, connecting with the Rastafarian community as well, and they taught me a lot about what you talked about, how to eat, how to treat the body, the cellular structure.
Right.
I was becoming conscious to that kind of stuff,
Hmm.
because I was thinking I was asleep like everybody else or most people, but that stuff changed my life tremendously. Really, it changed my life. But yeah, your journey sounds really powerful and intense, and I love how you talked about connecting with your indigenous ancestors over here and the ones across, because a lot of us are remembering now, but we've been disconnected from our indigenous ancestors over here. And some people think, well, we don't know over there and where we came from, but we got ancestors right over here,
That's
you
right.
know. And I love that. So yeah, so tell me about as much as you can about your magical time with comedic, your comedic experiences.
Well, I would say, it started with doing the sacred woman work.
Mhm.
And so, Queen Afua, beautiful, beautiful teacher, Queen Mother, she set that book up. It's like a Bible for Black women, right?
I
So,
literally just got that book the other day, this week. I
okay,
got that and the journal.
excellent. Yes, 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 because it's powerful. And so with me, I chose to, dive right in. I wanted to go through the process. And so I began to work with those Neteru, those deities,
Mhm.
and they began to visit me in my dream state, in my waking state. I remember Tahuti would come and wake me up in the morning.
Wow.
I know it seems odd, but I
No, it
heard someone
doesn't.
else who was going through Sacred Women say the same thing. So he would come and kind of like nudge me because she told us to get up between 4 and 6 in the morning. So 4 o'clock, I'm in a deep sleep. I'm a
Mhm.
mother of young children. I'm trying to rest. And then I get this push, it's time to get up. You have things to do. And I remember I would look, and what I could see was just legs. Like his energy was so massive it
So
didn't fit
big,
in my
yeah.
room. But I knew it was Tahuti because he told me, and he would just wake me up and say, you should do this work, the exercises. This is your time to do it. This is how you're going to heal. I had been in a deep depression prior to that. So that sacred woman work really helped to revive me and reconnect me, to my higher self. And it was truly, every bit of it was spiritual. I mean, from the waking time to going to sleep, I began to see the spirits more often through my visions. I would see visions of indigenous ancestors, and it just became, I became a medium to the ancestors. So
Mhm.
I began to not just see them, and I would also hear them. And not just my own ancestors, but other people's ancestors. So they would give me, when it started, they gave me these tests, and I would be out in the store minding my business. I'm shopping, doing my thing, and then I would hear, "Tell that lady over there, such and such and such and such, go tell her." And I'm like, I don't know that lady. I'm not
Right.
going to tell her. I don't know her. Why y'all? But I would hear it again. Go tell her. Go tell her. Tell her. Tell her. Tell her. Tell her. And it was very persistent. So I had to go, and then I would go deliver the message. The person would be so thankful that I told them. And so that's when I began to realize, okay, now other people's ancestors are talking to me. And so I had that period of time where that happened. Thankfully, it did not last forever. I would say maybe a year or two, I would go out and get these random messages. So that is another, you know, spiritual thing
Yeah.
that I could share. And that is another thing that I've heard from other spiritual people. When you can hear the ancestors speak, other ancestors can
That's right.
realize that you can hear them or see them, and they will come. I think they had a TV program with a similar thing, and it's a very real thing.
It is.
It really does happen. So those types of things have happened. I have had times where I've been at a festival and even at a retreat. One year we were, oh, this is a good one. I haven't told this story in a minute. So we were planning this a retreat, and this was probably when I first started doing retreats. And I knew this elder that did sweat lodges, and I decided to invite him to come to do this lodge. So he came, built a whole sweat lodge, right? So that takes a good 8 to 10 hours. He's out there working. After he finished, it started raining, and it rained Friday night, all day Saturday. Sunday, we were like, please, please, let the rain stop. We all went out and just made prayers and just, can we just push the rain back? Just let us have 3 hours so that we could do this sweat lodge. That's all we asking. Just because, you can't, it's hard to keep the wood and on fire and everything. So it stopped raining, and we all went out there. It was maybe about 12 or 13. It was a nice group. We ran out there, got in that lodge. We sweat, we sang, we had prayed, had a great time. When we were finished, we all went in the house. And I mean, it seems like as soon as we closed the door, the sky opened up and it just started raining again. And yeah, I have so many stories like that I could share where you just know that you're connected. It's
Yeah.
just I went to Kemet um, a couple years ago, and I work with the great mother Sekhmet the most. So
I
we
saw
went.
that.
Yes, me and Sekhmet. We have a
I
love thing going
I
on.
was very intrigued by that because I got a
Mhm.
little experience with Sekhmet and I'm very connected to her as well. I was like,
Oh, okay,
okay, no wonder
beautiful.
we connected. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's how it goes. So we went in this particular temple that had paintings on the ceiling, and it was a line of different Netaru painting on the ceiling. So I'm standing there, and I look up, and directly above me was Sekhmet. And I was just like, this, you can't make this kind of stuff
I
up.
know.
Like, it was just like, seriously, like, I just kept looking up, like, I can't believe this. But, as you probably do know, when you are on the spiritual path, magical things happen, things that you can't explain,
Right.
things. I've had times where I didn't have money. One time I was trying to pay this bill. My neighbor came to the house and said, I don't know, but something told me to give you this $100.
Like my ancestors.
Right. It's just, I'm
Yeah.
thankful because that I needed that. I needed to pay a bill that day. I was praying and trying to figure out how I was going to pay it. And the woman came to the house, knocked on the door, and just gave it to me. And I just, that's why I stay on the path.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Literally, I say the same thing. I think about that so many times, like that things could have gone worse, and just right at the
Yes,
nick of time, like something came through, and it's always been like that for me. It's
yes.
always been like that for me, and I like you talked about a lot of amazing stuff. I loved it. That was very exciting just listening to that because you're right. When you're connected, there's all sorts of things that happen that people who are not connected, it may seem strange, but
Mm-hmm.
something that I talk about all the time is how do you stay connected? That's how do you stay connected? I know my audience wants to know that.
It's a practice,
That's right.
a spiritual lifestyle. You have to have a practice, a spiritual practice. And yoga is a part of a spiritual practice. I've asked people before, well, what is your practice? And they will say yoga, and I'm like, okay, but that's part. That's not
Part.
the whole thing. When you are in a spiritual lifestyle, you have to eat a certain way. You have to have your consistent prayers, meditations. You working with the ancestor realm, so you making offerings. You
Mhm.
have to have a light heart. Like, you can't be a spiritual person and you out here doing dirt.
That's right.
It's fit. Living outside of the laws of my aunt, which is out of order. You know what I'm saying? So that in itself is a big part of the spiritual practice, because if you're trying to be spiritual and you out here lying and cheating and stealing, you gonna attract some bad spirits. You
That's right.
you gonna attract some spirits that may have, because they say if you lie, you could cheat. If you cheat, you could steal. If you steal, you could kill. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Those are all low vibration actions. So you have to be living with a good heart on the spiritual path so that you will attract higher forces that will tell you, go to the park, go feed the birds, go to the water and just relax. You know what I'm saying? Those are the kind of prompts that we get when we're on this path.
Yes, well said, well said. And that's so true. You covered a lot of different things. And for someone that's just starting out, like that sounds like a tall task. You know what I'm saying? Like considering all the distractions that we have, I've been on the path for pretty my entire adult life, so 21 years now. But
Mm.
I had a tremendous amount of generational trauma to heal through before I got to a certain place of lightness. But I never gave up on my practices and stuff like that. So for someone just starting out, what would you suggest?
I would say start with doing some conscious breathing,
Mm,
because your life force energy flows through your blood and your breath. So if you know how to control your breath, you can meditate, you can quiet your mind, you can find peace within yourself, you can release emotions through your breath. And it's definitely a big part of our spiritual practice, because we always, before you meditate, you got to take some deep
that's
breaths.
right.
Before you pray, take some deep breaths. It helps you to center yourself and to get grounded. So that's something that it doesn't cost anything. It
Mm-mm.
just takes time and effort, and knowing, different breathing techniques that you can do. That's very simple, and it will help you spiritually. I also encourage people to do affirmations. You can program yourself
That's right.
to whatever you want. You could say, I'm powerful, I am creative, I am beautiful, I am the best dancer in the world, I am a best selling author. I tell myself this every so often. So, how we think is, how we create our reality. How we speak also helps us to create that reality. So using the power of our thoughts and our words is something that, they brought it out when they talked about the law of the attraction, the secret, and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
That's is ancient African philosophy. That's where it came from, and this is the way our ancestors also lived. They spoke things, they made things happen. I remember my grandma saying, "Don't just pray and ask, speak it like it's
That's right.
already here." You know what I'm saying? So it's powerful. And then, of course, making sure that you have a spiritual connection. So
Mm.
having a connection with your ancestors, having a connection with the Most High, having a connection with the deities, all three or any
Mhm.
of the three, you gotta be tuned in to the spiritual realm in some form of fashion, because we're in a spiritual war.
That's right.
So if you're not spiritually connected, that spiritual bomb could be coming and you won't even get the warning.
No
You
defense.
you're gonna miss the whole warning because you're not even tuned in. You over here, at the Beyonce concert or whatnot.
Right.
My bad, y'all.
No, that's
I know
okay.
some people gonna be mad I said that, but it's the truth. It's a distraction. It has taken many of our women outside of themselves, not just her, but that whole type of music. You know what I'm saying? The genre, the everything, the trends,
Yeah,
is anti us, if you ask me. But I'm gonna
it
stop right
is.
there. Go to the next question.
It was that was good. That was that I loved everything you talked about. It was powerful. It was simple things that can change your life. Connecting with your breath, that life force energy, affirmations, reprogramming your thinking
Mm-hmm.
into different living, and having connection to source. That is so powerful. And like you said, you named three: the ancestors, the deities, or the Most High. And something that you've mentioned a lot throughout this so far is you talked about prayer. And I love that because I think a lot of times people think that on this path we're anti-prayer. So, like, I know, right? It's crazy, but a lot of times I think people think, well, it's because of what they see in the program and the conditioning that what we do is you know is demonic or is
Right.
something outside and opposite of connection to source energy. So,
Mm.
um, I just want to hear from you, like how prayer has been beneficial in your spiritual practices and your walk.
Baby. So I'm a mother of three sons. Excuse me. And after I had my third son, I really didn't know what I was going to do because I was not married. I had, gotten divorced from my first husband, had these two other children, and I really was afraid, for what might happen. And so I started praying, um, like real hard, like every day, even two or three times a day. And those prayers is what carried me out of that depression and helped me to see and find my purpose and my truth and my light. Um, I remember being given, I prayed to the Most High by many names.
Mhm.
Okay, so Jah, Yah, Ra, Allah, Olodumare, Odumakama, Buddha. I done prayed to all of them, baby. Trust me. But I noticed that they all pretty much teach the same thing, and so I began to just lean towards what felt right for me, and um, began to be more consistent. I had some prayers that were given to me, and I would say them every day. And it seemed like when I said them, the whole room would light up, right? So, when you go to wherever spiritual place you go, and you know that that Holy Spirit, the energy of the Most High is there, you could feel that.
You can
It's
feel
like
it.
that warm feeling inside. So we supposed to be able to pray and get that same feeling right at home. So when you have your consistent prayers and they're powerful like that, I begin to get that feeling, and it just really changed my life. And I knew that it was that connection, that consistency that kept me going through the trauma and the pain and the other different things that I had to heal from. Um, and even throughout my life, there are times that, my son was killed last year. I didn't
Sorry.
pray for a few months. I was mad at everything and everybody. And, I had to have that time, but I had to go back to the prayers because I knew that that was going to bring me back from that. I was in a real dark place, the grief and the hurt. But it was the prayers that revived me and brought me back, you know, every time, every time, every time. And saved my children. I've, prayed. We prayed one time, one of my students, her niece or cousin had gotten kidnapped right after a retreat, or maybe while we were on a retreat, and we prayed, prayed, prayed. That girl got free overnight, like less than a day. She came home. So, I know the power of prayer is real. And especially when we do the group prayers, we're praying for the same thing at the same time. We can move mountains.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Wow. Thank you.
And
Thank you for
that's
sharing that. And you're right. Prayer is powerful. And I know for a long time when I was out there battling my stuff, somebody was praying for me. I always say that because I wasn't praying.
right,
Like I was
right.
disconnected from source,
That's
like you
right.
said, and I was trying all these things and I was still doing these spiritual practices, but it got to a point where something was missing. My ancestors was like, we're at the end of the road. You're gonna have to like connect to this source and that's it, but or you can't go no further.
Right.
And that's what happened. And I connected to source and I started praying. All that time I wasn't praying.
Mm-hmm.
And it really changed stuff for me. Like you said, it's like everything, it was like ding, it was like the missing puzzle piece, and things changed dramatically. And so, yeah, I incorporate the combination. Like you said, you started out by talking about there's many different names for source energy, whatever you choose and how you connect to it.
Right.
And that's what I do today. I've got this mixed bag of practices that I learned along the way, meditation,
Okay.
prayer, and ancestors, and I love it because it keeps me connected. Like you said, it keeps me
Mm-hmm.
connected. And yes, you said a lot of powerful things, and I definitely think that what you said will help somebody. Um, to understand that it's okay to still pray. You can still have a source of your choosing. Nobody's asking you to choose nothing. You don't have to do what's mine. You don't have to do what's hers. You have choices. With
Exactly. Yes.
that's the whole bottom line. You got choices over here based on your spiritual path and journey. So I love it. I love it. So yeah, you talked about earlier in about eating right. You talked about herbal medicine. Um, Tell me about like when it is. Are you a vegan?
Yes.
Okay, so like when did your vegan journey start? Like how and when did you start incorporating the herbs?
Um. So my grandfather made his transition from colon cancer, and I was just out of high school, and I just remember asking, what does that mean? How did he get that? And I kind of looked it up. We didn't have internet back then, so I think
Okay.
someone had to really explain it. But I remember thinking about how he was eating, and I said, "Oh, okay, well, that's not something that I want. So I'm going to, make some adjustments And my mother also made that choice to stop eating meat. So, I was about 18 and she decided she didn't want to eat meat. And I said, well, I'm not going to eat meat either. And I really hadn't been a heavy meat eater prior to that anyway, so it wasn't that hard. And, as I continue on the journey, I believe I got the Heal Thyself book a few years after that. So I began to learn about, eating more healthy, eating more raw, fasting, detoxing, and all those types of things. And as soon as I learned about it, I was like, yeah, this is for me because I was a very picky eater, from childhood. I never could tolerate eating the pig feet or tails or the
Right.
liver or any of that kind of the chitlins. I just couldn't
Mm-mm.
stomach it at all. So it wasn't too hard for me to, make that step into being vegan. I actually, when I was in the Rasta movement, they call it Ital in those days. It was just Ital, eating pure food, no preservatives, real food. So thankfully, I had that as a young person and was able to raise my children primarily as vegans and vegetarians. Some of their fathers ate meat, so they too, might have went that way. But my two youngest, they never ate, the all of that meat and stuff like that. So it's been now that has also been a beautiful part of the journey because I know it's helped us to avoid the doctor visits, the sicknesses that I've seen other people have. My children were never vaccinated or any of that, so they were and still to this day give thanks and praises, are very healthy. Um, and they also make healthy choices, which I'm very thankful for because, that's what it's all about, to pass on these good habits, to break the generational
Yes.
curses, so we're raising up beings who don't grow up thinking that they got to overeat to be
Right.
full, or they have to have things that are not healthy for us. Things, our bodies are not made to digest meat. We only have
Right.
one stomach. So we really breaking the law of nature, trying to eat meat every day like that. Um, and so yeah, it's been, like I said, it's helped us to keep from going to the doctors, and I'm extremely thankful for that. And I'm the medicine woman for the house. So anytime they got sick, it was always herbal teas, garlic, lemon, cayenne pepper, basically can knock out almost everything. Come to find out, you take this garlic every day, you be all right.
Yeah, I love that. And you know what? And like you said, we got everything we need on the earth, and it keeps you out
Yeah.
of the doctor. And it also, I'm sure, assisted in you being able to have Tahuti wake you up. They gotta tell everybody your cellular structure gotta be a certain way too. So
Right.
yeah, I love that, and that's what I'm trying to do now. I just got into the herbs, I think, like 3, 4 years ago, and that's what my ancestors are working with me with. And so I'm trying to create that medicine book. I my oldest daughter just had a baby 2 years ago, so I'm a yay yay, and I'm like, okay, and I'm that one
Right.
that's like, oh, don't give them that, that's like
Right.
GMO,
Right.
and so, but she doesn't know, so now I'm like, okay, I got to create this, so I'm creating a book, and I got my herbs, and I'm learning. I'm learning how to be that medicine woman because if I had it my way, I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan at all of doctors. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I'm fully aware of the Western side of medicine. So, yeah, I love that, and I love how you were able to raise your children like that. And they ever eat meat? The two youngest.
No. Mm-mm.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. I love
Yeah.
that.
They did have some fish, but never any chicken, pork, or beef. Still to this
Okay.
day.
Wow. Yeah, so they
Mm.
got a completely clean, pristine ital.
Right.
system. Okay, so I love it. And so you said, and I like what you said, cayenne, lemon, herb, garlic can knock out anything. So I'm finna, and that's in our kitchen cabinet, y'all.
You're right.
People,
Exactly.
people, that's in all our kitchen cabinet. You don't have to go buy nothing crazy on Amazon or nothing. So I love it.
Mhm.
So yeah, I want to talk a little bit about frequency and vibrational healing. That sounds
Okay.
powerful. Talk to me.
Yeah, so in ancient times, we healed using the power of prayer. We were able to use instruments like the drums or rattles or bells for our healing practice. We used color therapy, right? And still, these practices are still done all over the world. Um, the herbal remedies that we mentioned, the crystal healing, so, and even aromatherapy, essential oils, those types of things. These are the things that have been around since the beginning of time. And this is how we've always been able to bring ourselves back into balance. So when we understand energy, we understand that we have an energy force field around us that we have to keep clear. We call it our aura. We have energy that runs within us, through our meridians. And then we have the energy centers, which we call chakras. So all of this energy is meant to be moving and flowing all day, every day, because we are electric beings. But if we sit at an office desk 8 hours a day for 10 years, or we eat meat every day, 3 times a day for 20 years, or, we do things that block our energy, then we begin to be out of balance. Um, we can get out of balance through trauma. We can become out of balance through a conversation sometimes. We could become out of balance through other things that affect our senses. So things that we see, hear, taste, touch, and smell can throw us out of balance. But also, we can use things that affect our senses to bring us back into balance. And that's really what frequency and energy healing is about, understanding what is out of balance with our client, and then we can understand what we can use to bring them back into balance.
I love that. Yeah, so that's more, I like that because you took energy healing to a different level. So there's the identifying that there's some imbalance, and then I guess you're reading and attuning to the field to be able to know what tool to use and what vibration and frequency.
Correct.
Wow, that's deep. Yeah, because I was going to ask you about that, because I saw you had Reiki on here and I had a question about that. So that kind of ties in with the frequency healing. So Reiki, I know that's explain to myself in the audience your experience with Reiki, and then I have a question after that.
So Reiki is a practice that uses everything that I mentioned. Like, okay, I would say the Asian form of Reiki, the regular standard forms of Reiki, our practices that deal with the infinite source of energy, which is the energy of the sun. That's the ray part. For us, it's the Ra part, right? Then we have our own personal life force energy, which is sometimes they call it chi or ki. We call it Sekim. So we say Ra Sekhi, which is the union of the infinite life force energy with our own personal life force energy. So it's a thing because we have this energy, but if we are unaware of it, we're unable to fully use it, right? So once we become aware that yes, the sun is a great energy source, then we know that there are certain things we could do to recharge with the sun. Just going outside and sitting in the sun is a recharge for our energy, right? If we do some sun gazing, we look at the sun, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds at a time, it can recharge our brains because the sun is just pure energy. So, Ra Sekhi and Reiki for us, because we have Kemetic Reiki, so we come from a more African centered perspective, and we're using that life force energy of the sun, but also the energy of all the elements. So we use earth energy, air energy, fire, and water energy. And we are consciously aware of how we can use the crystals, the sounds, the colors, and all of those things to bring that harmony within. So, Kemetic Reiki uses all of those things in our practice. That's what makes our practice a little bit different. Like you were saying, the Kemetic yoga is a little more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It would be the same with the Kemetic Reiki because we incorporate so many different tools in our Reiki practice. So we're doing laying on of hands where we use our hands, we're sending and channeling energy through our hands, we're praying and things of that nature. But we're also using the instruments and the colors and the other tools to help with that recharging process. So, our sessions, I always say we don't have quiet Reiki sessions. Our
Right.
sessions, it's going to be some chanting, it might be some
Right.
singing, it's going to be some prayers, it's going to be some drumming, um, and even some affirmations. It might
Mm-hmm.
be, I might take someone through a whole guided meditation while they're on the table, if that's what they need, because everyone's need is different based on, their experiences and what they're healing from. So we really, I train my people in those different areas so that they're able to use a variety of things to bring about that healing and the balance that's needed. Because our people are suffering and sick. Like
Yes.
woo, baby, we need some healing. And
Yes.
so, yeah, we got to use everything we can.
That's right. We need all we can get to restore.
Everything.
And I
Hmm.
love that, and I think I had somebody else on the podcast and we were talking about that, like us, um, you know, women, Afro-Indigenous women being in these Reiki spaces and having these different experiences than the other ladies around us,
Right.
right? And we like, okay, a whole lot more is happening to me than y'all are have happening, and they couldn't answer
Hmm.
our questions, and but I'm grateful for that, because it showed me an ability that I had that I didn't know. And I was like, well, it was real natural. It's like riding a bike,
Hmm.
it was like, oh, you've
Right.
done this before.
Right.
But essentially it's gotten to a point where it's more than that for me. And it's like Reiki is one description and definition of it, but it's something that I feel has always been there. And like you said, it uses intuition, connection with my ancestors, healing guides, your
Yes.
healing guide. It's a whole bigger thing going on. So
That's
I
right.
don't even feel comfortable calling it Reiki no more because even my massages, at one point I was a massage therapist for like 10 years, I think. And everybody say the same thing. Your massages are different. Like, and I
Okay.
tell people that when people are like, "Oh, give me a massage," I'm like, "Listen, my massage, regular massage. Like, it's gonna send you into a transformation of some sort." So,
Mm,
so I love that. I love that you are working with our people and doing it the way that it resonates with us and our spirit and incorporating all those elements because those are some of the oldest energies and on the planet, and they're very powerful and
right.
accessible. So I love that. I love it, love it, love it. This has been a very enlightening conversation. I really enjoy having you on the podcast. And like I said, you've been on the path for a long time. You're helping a lot of women. Tell us the work that you do, the services you offer, how we can find you.
Okay. So I do promote health and wellness through the Kemetic Reiki classes. And I do appreciate what you're saying because I just have to add that Ra Sekhi is way more than Reiki.
Mhm.
So, it's a lifestyle, it's a practice but also a way of being. And so, we have classes and retreats. I actually have some master teachers who teach the classes in different cities. So I know we have one coming up in Dallas and Baltimore in October. And also, I do Kemetic Reiki healing retreats. So we have the Soul Reset retreat coming up in Pensacola, Florida.
Hey, coming to my state.
Yes, yes. And Pensacola, I love the beach in Pensacola because it's very uh, quiet and peaceful. The sand there is super soft. They have that white sand. So it's just really good place for healing. I don't really like to go where there's a lot of tourists because then we'll have people looking at us when we're on the
Yes.
beach. When we have the quiet private beaches, we can sometimes go out at 7 in the morning and be out there all by ourselves. So Pensacola is coming up October, I think 10th through the 13th. Then we're going to the mountains in December. We'll be in the North Georgia mountains doing the self-love retreat. So if you need to focus on loving on yourself, that is the one you want to come to. We're going to do some extra meditations and affirmations and all kind of self-love exercises along with the classes. Then we're going to Puerto Rico in February, and that is the Blue Light Retreat. So we are going to be promoting peace. Blue is for peace.
I love it.
So, yeah, if you want to get more peace within, you want to join us for that one. We'll have a couple more retreats listed soon as well. I'm going to be doing a mini tour, I would say. So, here in Atlanta, we have been doing the Ashe Wellness Market, which is like a wellness day where we have holistic health practitioners giving services, speaking. We got the marketplace, and it's just overall a good, healthy time. So we're going to be traveling, going to Chicago, DC, Philly, Charlotte, different areas like that. So stay connected with us to find the dates. You could come and see us. I never did a book tour. I have 12 books.
Oh,
So I
wow. Yeah,
will
tell
be
us
out
about
there.
them.
Yeah, I have 12 books, the Kemetic Reiki level 1 and 2. I got the Speaking with Spirit. It's a book of African prayers. Healing Ritual Magic is a book of rituals, womb rituals, men ritual, family ritual. Three children's books. The Laws of My Eye for Children is called Light as a Feather. And then two others. I get energy from the sun. I am mind, body, and spirit. I got a recipe book. I have
Nice.
a chakra workbook. It's called Revitalize Your Chakras Healing Workbook. That's my most recent book. So after teaching Reiki for 15 years, I really learned a lot. And so my first book is like where I started. The
Yeah.
chakra workbook has all the stuff that I learned through the years because most people don't even talk about the chakras and that they could be overstimulated or understimulated. And so if you're, for example, working with the lower self, and you're already overstimulated, you don't want to be adding no hot, fiery colors. That's not going to balance that out. You know what I'm saying? So things like that I learned through practice, through experience of years teaching and working with people. So that workbook has a journal that goes with it to help with the deep, deep healing. The Revitalize Your Chakras journal questions are going to take you there so you can face up to the stuff you need to face. Um, we also have two coloring books. One is illustrated by my daughter. It's called Golden Hour Coloring Books. And that one is special. It has that black girl magic. So just beautiful pictures of black women, all different styles. Then we also have the Oracle deck. So we have the
Okay.
segment healing Oracle cards. These cards have messages to help you with your healing process. So there's messages and assignments, and they're definitely very powerful as well. So you can check out all of the classes, retreats, books, and products at rasekihealing.com. The website is there listed. And yeah, we have online classes, services. I do readings. I do a prayer, a 7-day prayer ritual with people who, if you're, down and out and you need some help, you want things to change fast, we could do the 7-day prayers, and that is definitely going to put things in a movement. I have the Heal Me package, which is a new thing I'm offering for people who have been diagnosed with something, or they have some maybe weight loss goals, want to get more spiritual, whatever your goals are. I'll work with you for 4 to 6 months. Phone calls 2 times a month or as needed. It includes readings, consultations. It's really helpful. Like I had the most recent one that I worked with. The brother lost like 30 pounds. He looked like a whole new person by the time we finished. We
Wow.
worked through some of his trauma, helped him to get reconnected with his ancestors. And I mean, he really made a like a whole recovery process. And so, each one that I take that time with does experience like a whole change within. So that's one of my favorite things because I love to see the breakthroughs and I love
Yeah.
to help my people. But I do offer several different types of readings. I've been doing readings for about 25 years. So you won't see me doing them online.
I know that's right.
Don't have to read the book to do a reading either. But
I
yeah,
love it.
let me be nice sometimes.
No, you
Just
do it. You know what? Wow. I had no idea. I went to the website. Yes, you have a lot going on and you were so humble about it. You really out there
thank you.
helping a lot of people and have been for a while. And like I said, I really it was an honor for me to have you on the show. I wanted exactly everything that you brought, all your wisdom, your experience. And I think we need to hear that. So from somebody who's been consistently on the path and giving back to others. So thank you for your service to everyone. And thank you so much for being on the show. Y'all know what I'm going to do. I'm going to have her contact information down in the description as well. Make sure you check out her website, check out some of those retreats, classes, books, readings if you're into that. You can also find her on Instagram. All this stuff will be down in the description. And that is it, y'all. Until the next episode.